Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the break. Our next presenter is going to introduce himself. He's from KCCA. He's going to share with us concerning the issues that we are discussing this morning. I want to hand over and give him time to make his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jacob Yamukama, Manager of Transport Planning. I was trained in this university, started training here about 8 years ago. Managed to graduate as a civil engineer. Then worked in a local government. And also managed to escape this environment in order to get some more knowledge. Started working somewhere else for about 10 years. Now I'm in KCCA, and I want to be part of the team that transforms the city. So that is me, and I want to encourage all of you, because I was also like you. I used to like titles like BSc, Eng. It's not very easy to get it, but nowadays I think it is easy. But I have a master's also, and I'm a member of the Institution of Civil Engineers, so you need to be professional in your career, and you're not taken by. I remember the time when we finished the university, we were looking at, can I get a car, can I get a house? This is not what you should be to develop your career, and I'm one of those examples. After that long one, I was trying to allow people to come in. So my leaning is transport. So you'll discover that my presentation is mainly on transport, but I'm trying to integrate it. So I'll put the title as towards integrated city planning. KCCA, as we know it, its area of jurisdiction is about 197 kilometers squared. It is quite hilly. There used to be 7, but the hills are now coming in around 26 or something. The population is about 3.15 during the day, and the ones who sleep within that area of jurisdiction is about 1.5. All the cars in Uganda, 60% of them, they remain here on this land, which is just less than 0.1% of the area of Uganda. This is a big problem. And the vehicle ownership, 15 vehicles for every 100 people within the city. So you can see these numbers, they're a bit scary. You heard what the commissioner said, that Kampala was planned for 300,000 people in the 1960s, but today it is about 3.15. And again, although I work with government, I want to fault it for not counting gas every time. It was supposed to be counted in 2011, but you can just imagine. We don't know what the population is, so we just keep saying approximately. So the red area there is KCCA, quite small, and most people want to come into this small area. You can see the urban sprawl there, that's an orange color. What causes urban sprawl? The commissioner gave several reasons, but Kampala, the economy of Kampala is growing. Everyone wants to be in Kampala. It's the next city of our nation. And I think the priest also talked about it doesn't know the extent of the city. We want to think, and I've expected this drawing or map from our Kampala Physical Development Plan. We want to think that Kampala as a city should look at that whole yellow area. So, and everything is identity. And that should be the metropolitan area. It's the place that we should plan for in the next 40 years and make sure our city is quite good for called it a world-class city in Vision 2040. Yeah? In 1960, this is the 300,000 city we had. That's how I think most buildings you can't even know which one is there, but Parliament is there. And the Mayor's Palace is there, Ministry of Finance is there. Can you see some other things? The National Theatre is there. But this was for 300,000 people. Very quickly in 1971 when they made the census was 370,000. So already the planners were lost the plot because in 1971 the city was too small for 370,000 people. Today it is, we are talking of 10 times. And it's quite scary to look at the numbers. Even when we share these numbers with other cities around the world, they say 3 billion. In 2023, 5 million. If we continue like this, 2040, we said 10 million. So it's very easy for these numbers to go in that direction. What road network do we have? The paved one, we have about 467 kilometers. Of this, the one that is good to fair condition is 480, and the other 185 is in poor condition. Then the unpaved, definitely we class this also as very bad road, because in the city you expect to have all roads paved. And how do we use the roads we have just now? Like Mary said, most people walk, and then the other people who don't walk use vehicles, and it's quite scary. If you look at the facilities we have for the people who walk, yes, they are, it's the poor. One of the things which causes urban sprawl is where the people work. They work, for example, in Shady, or most of the work is within the CBD. And because these 60% don't want to walk very long distances, they end up staying in the swamp, because there it is easy to go to work. Yeah? So they make a choice between staying in a place that is nice and not in a swamp, and we allow this. This is another scary thing. If you look at the people who use vehicles, if you look at the vehicles themselves, you have 42%. At the borders, this is the space they take on the road. The taxis take 21%. And the cars, the people who move their own cars, another 37%. But if you were to count the passengers who come to town, and these are the people who just use cars, the border bring only less than 10%. Taxis bring about 80%, and we who come in our vehicles about 10%. What does that mean? It means we need to, if we continue like this, the borders will take the whole road space. You will not be able to ride, and of course people will not be able to walk. We need to focus on the red part, on the passenger side, move them more efficiently into the city. But also the planning, the urban planning should help us to make sure people stay very close to where they work. So this is another challenge we have. If we look at the problem in our city, there are quite many. The principal mentioned very many. I tried to list them. I didn't see any telling us of a solution, but we are the ones fighting with the solution. We have the migration. Everyone wants to come to the city, and with the increasing income, people will keep coming to the city. People now, for example, walk very long trips in the city. You have some people walking about 6 kilometers to the city center. If you woke up early in the morning, and goes here around the northern bypass and look at all across the northern bypass towards the city. They're quite many. What does that mean? It means houses are moving away from where the jobs are. Maybe we need to change that and look for ways of allowing people to stay where they work, create work for them there, and then those that must travel using very efficient means to the city. What have other cities done? Some cities have tried to come up with another city. They try to run away from the problem by leaving the other city and they go and build another one. The case is Lagos, even Dar es Salaam, it's also the same, they tried. But it has been proven not to work. And the cities continue to grow. So we can't run away from Kampala and say, let us go maybe to Nakasongo and build another one. When you hear someone saying that he has not done some research which you should do in the future. The Kampala Fiscal Development Bank talks about developing satellite cities and towns, and the aim is to make sure that they have jobs, people stay there in an organized environment, and we check the use of cars, and then we also try to, I said PKT, that is percentage kilometers covered. So we try to make sure that we accommodate that as opposed to vehicles. And how can we do this? We can do it by developing land policy, and the ministry has told you about land policy for the whole country. We need to develop a parking policy. These cars, we need to deter them. We need to modernize public transport. We need to do what we call traffic management. We need to try to force people to use the road space that we have efficiently. The roads which we have, for example, are not going to increase, they are not going to break buildings and create big roads to accommodate many cars. No, we have to use the roads that are there. And what we do, we have to use them very efficiently. At KCCA, we are leading the development of urban transport policy for Greater Kampala. That one is by 31st. We have a draft which has been spread around, and it takes into consideration the urban policy that the Commissioner talked about, and it also addresses it integrates everything in transport in the policy. So, at the moment, what we have been having, we have like CEDAT regulations, which is a statutory instrument by the minister. We have an NMT policy now, motorized transport policy also the same. We have a public transport policy. All these are just other things all over the place. We decided we integrate them, and we are not very selfish. Think only about Kampala, we think about the Greater Kampala. We are involved in all the other districts, local authorities, municipalities within Greater Kampala. And of course, anything that happens in Kampala very easily is propagated to other towns and cities in the country. So if you get it right, it will be good for the country. If we look at the urban strategy for Kampala, we have the Kampala Fiscal Development Plan that was approved by the Fiscal Planning Board. Now, that one is just a structured plan. We need to go down and plan for every place within the city. We are looking for money quickly, and we are using the resources which we have to make sure that we develop the neighborhood plans. This should happen in 2014. I told you I'm a civil engineer, but I've gone a little bit, I studied transport planning, so I'm more social than non-engineering. So we could call it social engineering. And the way I look at things now is a bit different from my colleagues, but we think that within the city, the focus should now be on moving people efficiently, and we should start with people, because before the cars were there, was people were there. They they were walking, they were cycling, riding the Chigari, if you remember Chigari. And nowadays it doesn't have very fast, so we need to think about this people. That's one. And we have to build for them infrastructure. Then we have to look at how the people come in within the city, or how do they travel to the city. We need to look for ways of developing our public transport network so that it meets the demands of the city in the short term and in the longer term. It's not only about developing bigger roads or things, but it's about concentrating on moving people as opposed to moving vehicles. So in the next few years, and I want you to be with us, you develop everything with us. We may not be there, but the thinking should not be providing space for vehicles, it should be providing transport for people. Especially if you go along with that message, and whenever you develop something, you develop it along those lines, then you're on the right track. And that's what other cities are doing. So I've already talked about the very many problems we have in the city. I think we have counted the several manholes we have jumped while we walk. If there's no walkway, you have to walk in the road. It causes traffic friction. Very easily you could lose a leg if you've got a lot of ticket. We need to create an environment that is safe, first for people who are walking. And I think this is very important. And it will include everyone who stays in this land. Even you who goes to work, you need to walk at least the last few meters to your office. So you must have facilities to walk. We have a non-motorized transport corridor. I'm pushing two things here. Non-motorized transport and bus rapid transit. This is what we think is the way forward. This within transport. And it's quite challenging to think that a place like Mandela Road will change. But we think that we can push it. You can see this is mini price. Steps are in the road. Very few cars, but you can see the people are really, they need that space. So we want to give it to them. Let the people walk and let's remove the cars. The fumes are very, very evident in that. And it's quite, it happens everywhere because we have the type of cars we have are very, very old. We need to work with the several agencies, TLD and what, to make sure that the public transport vehicles we have don't bring fumes like this. This is like CEDAT junction. There is evidence of some bicycles. What do we see as a challenge? In other countries, like we go to the Netherlands or France or something, we find that they have where they have bicycles. But for us, if we decide to park our bicycles, will we find it there? It's a challenge. Then the existing clutter in the footways, convincing people from cycle lanes from street parking to cycle lanes. This is also something that should happen. And I think overall we are looking at developing continuous routes for pedestrians. But we know what we have been doing in our city. Everyone builds the whole of this plot, includes even the walkway. So you find you can walk up to some place and you have to jump in the road. It's really bad, but hopefully we can make walkways continuous. And we have to apply land, which is very, very expensive. Here are some photos of the MoLHD. So and the road, long streets, how we can change it if we get our way. And I'm using this platform to push this. Hopefully, if you buy this, then you're halfway there. But we want to make it green. We're talking about green cities. And we think that we should turn this place into a place that is pleasant for us to walk, to cycle, and in future maybe we can have a coffee in the road. Now, that's what we transit. Yeah, there's currently a pilot which is under design in the Ministry of Works and Transport. It's along this corridor of 25 kilometers for Bryce, Sana, Chireka, all connected. The design is very good, but when we implement this project, I'm sure the whole town will go upside down. But like the principal said, he said that you cannot leave Makerere and we are sure that you will get to City Hall in a few minutes. I can assure you that when you have this system, you even measure seconds. So you will say I can get there in 6.5 seconds or something like that. So it will be a segregated route for buses. They will come on time, they will not wait for people. So once you get there, if you're on time, you go. And they will be spread around. There will be links to other buses which will be feeding the network. That's how it will look like. We have stations. And it is a good plan. It is only 3 corridors out of 9. But if we can implement all the 9, and then we will have no reason for people to come with us. We will cut to the city. You can stop and say, no, there's a bus there, so we have an option. But at the moment, you cannot say the cars should not go to a place because we are not really any option. The car network looks like this. I've smuggled in some things here. So these are all the car network looks like. It is very disorganized. It doesn't look like the city the commissioner was saying. Assuming we are in the air now and there are street lights, do you think that this would be nice? Maybe not. But we think that this kind of network we should transform into our walking network. It should be the main walking network. So everywhere we have these roads, we should claim some of them and hand them over to people to walk and make sure they are continuous. We have priority on those roads. And this we think should be the main car network. I think it is, I don't know whether you can read many things there, but if you see, if I put you back, just imagine in the middle of the city, the CBD, we have so many roads going through. I think that in the future, this should not be the case. And there's a big circle in the middle of that drawing. And that should be where the car network stops. So cars should not easily go through the city from one corner to the other. You can't just come from Mubiri and just go to Nakasero. No. You should go around in this spring and then come back and maybe a car park or something. This is the plan maybe 15, 20 years time when we try to solve all the problems in our city. But it shows you that you have somewhere to start from if you're a planner, or if we say that this is where we want our cars to move, then you can organize land use around this. Should be the other way around, but because people have planned these areas faster than us, they're trying to catch up. This should be the public transport network for BRT. These are the main corridors, and you can see that they go through the city center. So you should be able to come into the city using a bus. You should really be flexible, just like other cities. And it's very important that we do this kind of thing. The next one is I've combined them. The green part is the non-motorized transport pilot. You can see that it fits in very well. And the thinking is that the inner box, the inner part, all those roads inside should have high quality, non-motorized infrastructure. That's it for pedestrians and for cyclists. So this one is showing you the car ring in the right and how it links to the car network. How it's quite interesting if you look at it like this. So you can see the bicycles are there. Those are the main routes for the bicycles. The buses, the main routes for the buses are there. and also the goods for the cars. So, but the main thing, we don't see any white inside what? Inside the CBD, which is very, very important. The car should not go through the city center. Again, if you can go over with that message, you have done yourself proud. And what do we think? We think that when you move in this ring, that black ring, I'm concentrating on it. If you move in it, if you insist on coming in the car, then you should park somewhere first, and then you walk wherever you want, then you go back to your car and get out. But if you want this place that is green, should be nice and pleasant for everyone working in the city. There's no noise, no hooting, no what. The things which we are now used to. We think that that is where we should be in 2025, assuming that everyone buys this plan. I think as planners, we think that this is a good plan. It has worked in several cities. They've spent a lot of time, 15, 20, 25 years, planning their cities like this. And it is all about doing it slowly, project by project, and it fits in. You get to this kind of thing. One of the big things which we are planning is to turn, for example, the taxi park. By the time we go up, I was lucky to be born in this city. I found the taxi park there. But I know to be managed to remove it. So if it's changed to a car park, multi-story car park, we think that it will serve the purpose. So it will be the first to be there, you see, on the lower part next to, from Cafe, going on, lockdown, Queensway, that's the taxi park, the first to be there. And the multi-story car park, anything, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 spaces. And hopefully when you park there, then you can go to the rest of the city walking on high quality surfaces. We think that this is how we should plan. The idea that you, of course, you can continue going. If you are lazy, you park and then you go into the bus, you move around, you stay out of bed, but you don't go to your car. Places like Kampala Road there, currently it looks like that. You can see people are being notified by bodabodas and leaving all the cars. Maybe this should change to something nice, clean, but with BRT in the middle of traffic transit. We think that this is the way we should go. And if everyone can do this, then the city will be more pleasant, safe for everyone to walk, fewer cars. And I think my colleagues in landscape, this year will be happy with what we are planning. But you can see straight away that you're going to move the medium and replace it with buses. So we're still going from this day. I hope they can do it. I want to thank you for this.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Really, I should invite you to come and sit with me. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to open the floor for some questions you may wish to ask the colleagues from KCCA. Yes, Mary, you could also join us. I wonder if you can create a seat for her. We are going to give them some short time because I'm told they are not going to be with us for long. So I thought that before they leave, you may have some questions you want to put to them. So I want to give you an opportunity to ask your questions. Can I have somebody who can take a microphone around?
I have just a few things to mention. It might be lengthy, and I'll try to keep it short. The first goes to the lady director. Well, the beginning of your speech or presentation, you talked about issues to do with landscape architecture and so on. And now I listen to the next presenter, and I'm trying to bring up this whole issue that what is this aspect we're calling integrated planning? Because it's not just about having different disciplines, different specialists together. I think it's a combination of being able to understand the issues, being able to come up with common objectives, common visions towards a specific problem area. And that leads to one thing, that strategic, integrated planning, whatever may choose to call it, cannot work alone unless you think about what the second president has just concluded, that doing little by little, which brings us to the aspect of strategic planning. And again, strategic planning must be considered looking at the aspect of co-production, besides the aspect of collaboration and partnerships. So I think that it's not really a question also a comment to look at. Now, when it comes to the issue of BRT, and I'm lucky to have just participated in cross-border networks. And this is a conference which is just concluded in Osama. And one of the things we're looking at is the fact that there is going to be an improvement in the northern corridor, where you have issued transportation all the way from Mombasa through Uganda and to other parts of Africa and so on. Now the question is, the urban corridors must consider the aspect of the railway link. As long as we think about BRT, talking about vehicles, talking about bicycles and so on, without linking this infrastructure with the railway systems, then we're going to think backwards again. So I think issues to do with integrated planning must begin at that level. Thank you very much.
What I wanted to tell the previous presenters is that the problems of Kampala are greater than Kampala itself. That is something we need to appreciate. Because I think the greatest percentage of people who are in Kampala here are non-residents. And we have been talking about integrating the planning. The policies the gentleman showed us are very good indeed. But the issue is that how far is the authority, the commitment in implementing this? Because like I told you, the problems of Kampala are greater than Kampala itself. So this means that you have to integrate issues in Wakiso, issues in Entebbe, issues in Kira, in Mukono. But you find the issue is that the greater Kampala metropolitan planning is greatly focusing on Kampala itself. And this is not what the integrated planning talks about. I think in order to solve the issues of Kampala, we must look at the issues of governance. Because Kampala alone won't implement an integrated, for example, infrastructure alone. You have to look at what Wakiso is implementing, what Entebbe is implementing, and integrate it. Because when you're talking about BRT, it's not a Kampala issue alone. It should be an integrated phenomenon. Therefore, what I feel is that in order to implement this integrated planning, we should look at, because the issue is jurisdiction. The mayor in Mukono municipality, he feels that this is my jurisdiction of Mukono. So this is an issue of integrating the governance of the area surrounding the greater Kampala area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Henry. Questions and then comments at the same time, but I want to so many times thank the previous presenters. I will start with you, Sam. I thank you for the comments you made previously, but then you concluded by talking about the implementation of plans and how it has been very difficult. My main solution here was the business approach to different elements of the plan. If we have, I still believe in master planning or structure planning as such, but if we divide this plan in various thematic areas and then have a business approach towards implementing them, because the land doesn't belong to us. So if we present business proposals to these different thematic areas, it could contribute towards the implementation of this plan. If you have an open space, determine a particular area, who owns that land, and how can we help him partner with another person to develop it as an open area, something like that, and many other things. And then there was the other issue of, this goes to KCCA. I think, Mary, you made a presentation here, but somebody said that urbanization has come and it's with us, and we have to live with it, and we have to plan for it. And therefore, but there is one issue. Urbanization and urban poverty is going hand in hand, and these are concomitant. We are addressing urbanization issues related to it. We so much forget about urban poverty itself, which in a way contributes to urbanization. And then this comes in, brings in the issue of managing the city, just as Henry observed. I must admit that KCCA has done a lot of work in building infrastructure. But they forget one thing when we talk about integration. The urban area is a system of interconnected parts, and some of these parts include the urban poor. And we have done very, very badly, as I must admit, when it comes to integrating the urban poor in the urban system. Because most of the spaces where they occupy derived livelihoods have been gotten away with. We pretend to want to improve them so that we improve their livelihoods, but we destroy them. And then the examples are many. You can have your one-day market. How many people have occupied it? You remember what happened? And many others I don't want to mention. And cases of vandalism, because the urban poor feel they are not part of the urban system. So in this meeting and as we retreat in our discussion groups, I would like us to observe that. How do we make these spaces occupied by the urban poor to derive their livelihoods much more sustainable, in as much as we try to make sure that they do not create other problems for urban users.
You talked about integration. I didn't see where integration was actually coming in. Maybe you should get us further. But I thought that with the council now, you need to have identified action plan areas, actually for the entire city. And action plan areas, in fact, is why I want to bring in this component of integration. Because you have issues of economics, you have issues of environment, you have social issues, you have land use issues, and so on. Now, this I don't think has really happened. Yeah, because it's now where because you identify areas and then it's where we have this integration. And you can actually prioritize, like the engineer was saying, area by area. Now, I would want you to refer to Kampala Development Plan 1972. I know that come across it. Have you? I think you need to look at it. Even the Kampala Transportation Plan, which was done by the consult, yeah, they had actually identified what they call policy plans, which are supposed to be translated into action area plans. And they had done it, area by area. Of course, I think they did something like 500 days for supposed to be done, but they identified those areas. So to me, I think that's why integration will actually come in quite strongly. Two, the engineer. I think you are sounding too much utopian. This must be going like this. It's like those old theories like people and so on, who are thinking of clean city, you clean the city, you clean city, where they were saying that what you have found is relevant, do away with it. Yeah? Now I want to remind you that Kampala has actually grown organically. And I think we can't compare Kampala with Dubai. Dubai, you have a desert, and you can drink whatever they want. Kampala, people are already there. Now, I think the issue is how do we deal with this existing situation? How we come in and say we are going to completely erase and come up with our new normative ideas, or what we find that we try and see how we can improve? I think that's one of the problems that we are really facing. Because we are planning where there is already existing. That's why we are actually having reactive planning. That's what I think. Sadly, in transportation, what I can see is very good models. But I think we need to look at this transportation we are planning coordinated with land use development. Yeah? Is transportation being informed by land use development or vice versa? But the two are really, have to go together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be so much audible. I'm a physicist from physics department here. I have a couple of issues, but I will start with KCCA, the logo. When you say for a better city and B, you make it small, I already made that comment on your page. The catchphrase in most of the logos in people, they don't focus on what someone seeing it will take. You say for a better city. C is capital, better is small b. So it's like someone who is artistic, like the architect should see that. So that B should be made capital. Two, since she talked of the green and the like, being a physicist, solar energy is now what is coming up for renewable energy. Imagine now we are in this building, we are comfortable because the sun is not going into the building. So you should now focus on, if it is a resort, the front porch and the back porch should be having the light for the evening, for the morning, to save the electricity. So you should see how to integrate that in the new plans which they are making. Don't make a residential house and then the school, you shouldn't build a school and then the light now is like that of a resort. Someone is in a class in the morning and the light is busy making the students not to do anything. Proper drainage. We have this, I don't see any, do you call them culverts or whatever? Since you are planning for the city. I proposed one for like at Kubiri and YMCA. You can't have water washing off. What is killing our roads is the water washing on the roads. So make sure you pass it under and make sure that drainage is okay. And I'll make this point clear that I don't believe a child who grows up in Kororo, goes to Kitante, goes to Kisubi, comes here, can solve the problem of Bryce. Any engineer here will try to challenge me. I don't think if you are that engineer, you will solve the problem of Bryce because you don't have any problem statement. Now, if I can.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, I've been carrying out a study on Kenya. These people also having a problem on the issue of slum development. These people are already existing. And now one of the ways in which China is eradicating slums is that they get these able-bodied investors. They come and buy off. They just compensate these people. Like someone can come and construct around 20 stories up, then surrenders the first floor so that it can compensate for those people who are originally owning that piece of land. That's one of the strategies these people are using. And I believe we can employ that because we are not going to chase these people, that the government doesn't have that type, because these people have grown up in Kampala. They have established their families, their businesses. I believe if we can follow that idea, that if we can get some able-bodied investor, someone constructs maybe 15 stories up, then the first floors are limited by those people who are existing in that district.
Thank you very much. I think your point is taken. The last.
My question goes to I looked at the physical development plan, SCCA, and my point is here. Because one of the key issues is maybe employing people who are from maybe a foreign land, this might not have ground knowledge or experience over the existing situation in Uganda. He said I would opt for maybe employing or incorporating both local farms and the foreign farms to come up with a practical development plan. For example, if you look at the diesel they took from I think from Lake Victoria that is cutting out considering that comes up to the city centers, which I think that cannot be achieved.
I think your point is made. And now move to this side. Yes, you say.
Thank you. I have two issues. The first thing is on community participation. As we talk of integrated planning, apply both to the merits presentation and the engineer's presentations. Just referring back to what Mr. Were reflected, the business model. If you are bringing how to engage the public, the private sector, just give a simple model of giving some of these greenbelt to corporations. Of course, there are very many organizations around to maintain and to prevent award them at the end of the year whatsoever. This would actually help because to maintain them to need some resources. And the other issue on integrated planning from the engineer side, I did see you bringing out the issue of flooding, which is a big problem when Kampala, just a simple downpour. Whichever infrastructure you're having, vehicles, and not to go beyond, because the landscape impairment, I know that, and from the engineering side, it's a concern which does not only affect what are called seated areas, but it is not for the city, and when it goes to the slums, it becomes the worst. So as we come up with this, it's important we make it a component of city planning.
Okay. Now I think let's give a look.
We are planning cities for vehicles, but we are not planning cities for people to enjoy their city. We are only concentrating on vehicle lanes. We are forgetting the pedestrians. We are forgetting school children. We are forgetting disabled people, those who are using wheelchairs. I think in some parts of Kampala we have wider spaces, but we are only concentrating on only vehicles, forgetting pedestrians and even as people in the community. Research. We talked about research. Makerere institution being one of the higher institutions carrying out research. Are we using this research for as a aiding tool for implementation, or we are using research just for purposes of personal reasons and government? Are we using it for implementation of our programs, or someone just, I did research, I graduated as a urban planner. Amanda, are you teaching your students how they can use this research tool as a guiding tool for implementation of some of these programs? Zebra crossing. There are some places where we feel zebra crossing is paramount. I can give an example of MoLHD Hospital. Not every person entering MoLHD Hospital is ready. There are those who are carrying their babies in bad situation. But someone is competing with a taxi driver, someone using his or her personal vehicle, someone is on a border. You know how border is driven. But there is no zebra crossing, and if it's there, are they respecting the zebra crossing, or they are just here to learn?
Thank you very much, Cindy.
I still have really
Yeah.
challenging questions. I will answer backwards. So I'll start with the one that ended, the one that started. Planning for vehicles. Maybe just to tackle the issue of integration, we talked about me talking about integration and it wasn't quite clear, and how that fits in with the last question of where we seem to be currently planning for vehicles. The issue of integration is twofold. At the point where KCCA meets the other stakeholders, that integration, we are saying, is quite important and must happen. At the point where KCCA directorates begin to talk is also quite important, so that we avoid the issue that we are talking about, which is planning for vehicles. You had in my colleague's presentation, he was talking about some of the things he's putting across, and landscape, physical planning, not being comfortable with some of those things. And, our house is still not in order, and we need to get to a point where it's in order. But I can assure you that moving forwards, we're no longer planning for vehicles alone. We are planning for pedestrians, and this is why the issue of landscape as a profession becomes vital to this university, this country. Because to plan for people, you need to have an element of an aspect of understanding what people are about. And the profession of landscape brings that really vividly across. The issue of flooding and greening. KCCA really is tackling issues in 2-3 ways. First is the short-term approach. We've been in office for 2 years. What can we do in those 2 years that can make a difference? What about the next 5 years, medium term? What can we do in the next 5 years that can make a difference? What about long term? Integrating whatever it is that we're doing with the rest of our cities within Uganda. And that's how we're looking at this. What comes first, chicken or egg? That's an issue that we can debate the whole day. But short term, there are things that we have to get on and deal with. Pothole filling, little green spaces that we can make greener so that they have an impact on the day-to-day challenge of the Kampala user. Medium term, long term, how do we integrate our schools, our hospitals, our markets with the bigger picture that we are talking about? Is that, can that be medium term and long term? We think yes. So for example, the issue of markets that we've tried to tackle over the last 2 years. Again, it hasn't solved the actual problem that we have in regard to market vendors, but it's brought an issue to the foreground. What do we do with the markets, the current situation that we have with vendors in the short term? What do we do with vendors in the medium term? And what do we do with them in the long term? Something with schools. Currently we have schools that aren't up to the standard that we want them to be. Of course we want the crossings, we want those children to go to school parks, to school areas, to play games that they need to play, but that's not a short-term issue. That's a long-term issue, which we are now beginning to plan for in our integrated, sustainable approach to planning. The issue of slum development, you're very right, the Chinese are doing it, resolving those. And again, we're saying that those are precedents, those are examples that we are looking at in terms of how we solve our slum problem. So, on a long-term point of view, we are looking at that. Again, the issue of, somebody mentioned the green belt captured in our development plan. And the fact they don't agree with the fact that we've included a green space from Lake Victoria into town. I don't know how far you've gone into looking into that framework document, but that's a document that is suggesting the things that we could do to integrate the things that we have. So why would we need to link green spaces? Because you see, the green spaces not only support us as human beings, but they also support, flora and fauna. So if you have flora and you have those green spaces jumping, if you have, let's say, for example, insects, butterflies, and you have the green spaces jumping, then you don't have the follow-through link that you need. If you're a human being and you want to walk, and say you want to walk from Mackindy into town, where is the best place to walk? Where you have the car driving, or where you have a green chain link linking the rest of the city? And that's the thinking, that's the level of thinking that we're taking. Why do we use experts instead of our own expertise? I think a combination of both is important. Experts, it's been done elsewhere, so why reinvent the wheel? If we can take a bit of what we know has been done, and take the knowledge that we have as Ugandans and incorporate the two, then we will have a better result. Policy Plan 72, you referred me to that document, and I'll go back to that and have a look at it. But the challenge that we have had, generally with our planning, is that we plan on paper and do not implement. And that's a challenge that we are faced with our latest plan as well. And the reason why this conversation here is important is we are saying don't leave it to KCCA. We all have a responsibility as Kampala residents. We all need to get involved to plan for our city. So we have a consultant who's brought this document and left it at our desk. Everybody else is waiting for another consultant to take this document and turn it into a detail. And yet we have the expertise within even this room to take this document and take it to the next stage. So my appeal to you is rather than wait for KCCA to give you the next stage, within us, let's call, let's mobilize and get a group of professionals together around the table and take this document apart. Let's not wait to be paid to do that. Because actually if we keep waiting for the payment to come through, for the government to make it possible for us to plan for our own city, it will not happen. However, it can happen with the dedication of 2 hours of the professionals in this room every week to take this document from where it is to where it needs to be. And then at that level, we are talking about integration. We are talking about how we resolve the problems that our people are currently faced with. Our vendors are currently faced with. We don't want to throw those vendors away in the long term, but we need to find a solution for them. Kampala is developing organically, I agree, and we have to accept that. That's why we are saying it's not good enough for the consultants from abroad to come and give us solutions that have worked for them. We have to take the example that we have here. We have heritage, strong heritage and history that we can build upon. And so that's the line that we're thinking. We're thinking, let's take what we have and work with it. I think I will let my colleague. Thank you.
It's very, very good. We think we could link up with the university and see how we can play a role in carrying forward the current physical development plan to the next level. And this can be done. In fact, I think we supported a small group of students to do internship, and we think that at that level, these ones who are completed and maybe they're waiting and they're paying nothing, we could make use of them to help in developing something. I look for maybe a combination.
I'll start with the question on railroad, connecting it to the northern corridor. I just concentrated on a few ones that for unauthorized transport and bus rapid transit, but there are several modes that are used to move around and ensure that the strategy or the transport plan we have for the future is covered. For example, in the city we also planning to have things that might be like probably, like you say, the cable car and also the trains. At the moment, what happened was when the concession in Uganda railways, the only concession is the trains. They didn't afford passenger services because they make losses. And several countries have realized this. It's very expensive to build rail infrastructure. For our city, where we're thinking of means of transport that are affordable, that are reliable, and go to where people stay, the rail might not reach everywhere. So if we need to start where we can, something that we can try that is possible. Most of them using buses and the non-authorized transport to move to the city. On governance, yes, I think this one is a big one. When you look at the KCCA Act, the KCCA is very small. The way I showed you. So, and this comes from the section 5 of the Constitution, where it's not within the Kampala is somewhere different somehow. And it should have taken care of the whole area of jurisdiction. If you look at, say, Lagos, they have the Lagos state, the area is really big. They have the governor, go to Nairobi, they also have, and the area that they are looking at, the running area is bigger and Zambia 1.5. For us, I think, to be honest, we have no hope of having one leader of GKN. So in terms of planning, I think the KCCA Act has the Metropolitan Physical Planning Authority. It's not a big constitute. It's one of the strong groups of one of the don't quote me on this one. But the other thing which is missing is the Metropolitan Area Transport Authority. It should work hand in hand with the Metropolitan Physical Planning Authority and make sure that they have a plan for the whole city. For the whole area, the whole yellow area, actually. There's no way we are going to plan for this. We have to plan for this area. And as technocrats, I think we are using the KCCA, for example, if you look at the practice plan, it's not true that it's only for KCCA, it's for the whole metropolitan area. And even the urban transport policy we are developing for greater coverage for the whole area, as we tell them, so all of them are really. And we are doing our best to make sure that professionals, we do the right thing. Politicians can continue to do that, but as professionals, we make sure we do the right planning for the city. On John said, talks about reactive planning, and that Kampala has gone organically, which is really wrong. We can't be proud of our score. We've not planned the city or implemented the plan for the last 50 years. And the people and owners or developers have just, what the principal are saying here in the morning, all the wrong things have happened because there's no plan that is being enforced, that is being followed. This is really bad. And we are trying to come back and deal with this problem. We need your support. When you look at transportation and land use, how they should be integrated, this one is a big issue. Like I've told you, planners have been sleeping for the last 50 years. And developers have gone ahead to do what they think is right for the this year is just 2 years old. It has found all these projects. Most of us, I think that we should do something about it. And it's only by integrating land use and transportation that we can go this step ahead. We already have now a physical development plan, a framework. We want to go to the neighborhood level. And in terms of transport, the roads are already there. We just have to try and make sure that, for example, we have 280 kilometers which are paved and in good condition. Everyone driving a car in Kampala wants to be on those ones. Doesn't want to be on the 1,400, the other one in East and what. They connect their shoulder. You see drive to the good area. So if we can increase, say, for example, the capacity of the network, maybe we can get some benefit. On drainage, you might see some mistakes were made. For example, the northern bypass, you can see we have cut it. We have to go through big compromising situation on Uganda to get that one cut. But the swamp or that wetland was not linked. When they put the road, just went over the swamp, and the flooding was there. Now, if you look at that place, if you go there, and we had some rain sometime back there, about 10 days ago, we had serious rain. We tested what is on the ground there, and it shows that some of this can work. The drainage master plan of 2002, it's just giving too much information, but it can help. It was based on the assumption that 40% of areas, of land areas, will do it. Okay, if you say you have a flood, it's 100% surface area. 40% of that area was proposed that would be the water that would be running off from your property into the system, the drainage system of the city. But the truth is currently everybody is being on 100% of this road. So we are getting 100% of the water. And this is one reason we are flooding. So as planners, we need to make sure that everyone has this plot of land, allows the water to sit in his plot as much as possible. But of course we won't be enforcing this. And with the drainage plan for is not what we have. On several crossings, yes, we are doing something about this. And someone has sent some questions about PRT. Will there be platforms and where will they be located? I think quickly I can say that every station will be about space at about 800 meters. We shall avoid as much as possible the areas that speak about like MoLHD Stadium. But the PRT is quite, the buses will be very long, 18-meter buses. They will not be normal, so you have where to park them, so you need to look for land where to park them. And they have to be connected with the rest of the public transport network. I think so. The others you can send me an email.
That the return on investment there must be good enough for me to allow my land to be open space. Because open space is a public sort of use. Yes, James.
We've been hearing of the fiscal development plan. And I appreciate the mode in which Mary was presenting. She was presenting by asking, who knows this? I don't know whether, if I can ask who has seen the KCC Physical Development Plan here. I don't know. But I wonder whether KCC takes this plan as theirs, as a legislative body, or ours as the city residents. And therefore, this plan must be known, must be given to us. We must see and we must contribute towards it. I just learned today that it was already approved. I thought it was still a plan in making. We should have really, as stakeholders, participated in this process. It's unfortunate some of us who consider ourselves as stakeholders have not, but then we need to participate in this implementation. If at all it can be possible for us to get access to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that plan was spearheaded by a project consultant, but I believe that it was a consortium. No. There was a foreign consultant, but there were also local consultants. And I remember we also had our technical team which worked with that foreign consultant. So it's not clear that the ideas were sold from outside. One of my colleagues is here, the Commissioner for Land Use Regulation. He can even say one if he feels that it's important for you to say. Recently, there was a member of the team which was working with a consultant.
The plan is available. You can download it on the KCC website. The local person, the local person who is not currently access that plan, I think as a body, and I agree, the plan is not for KCCA. The plan is for us as residents of this city. So the next stage for us is to take the key elements out of that plan and communicate them to the person who is not able to download it off the internet. And that's the next stage for us as practitioners.